Hello, welcome. I'm Robin Smith, and we are here live today coming to you with a talk on what does it mean to be emotionally mature, and how do you get there? What are the sources if you're already there? What are the signs of emotional maturity, and how can you develop it if you have some work to do in that front? So say hello if you're joining me live, or you can put #replay and say hello and let me know where you're joining from. And please know that anytime you can pop a question in the chat and I will be happy to come back and answer that. So let's dive into what is emotional maturity anyway. And so I love this topic. I think it's so interesting, and it's an area that I sure needed to develop a lot when I came into this world of the coaching that I do and kind of doing my inner work about 12 years ago. So emotional maturity, let's talk about the signs of emotional maturity. So you'll know if you're in line with that, or if there's some areas for you that you could use some more growth. So some signs that you have emotional maturity online are that you know what your emotions are. You can distinguish different emotions and how they show up inside of you. So in the work that I do, we look at how our emotions begin inside the body, and then knowing the different signs of your emotions in your body is a great sign of emotional intelligence and or emotional maturity. And also knowing how to differentiate your emotions from your identity. So we don't identify ourselves with our emotions. So I wouldn't say I'm a sad person or a depressed person or an angry person. We distinguish that. We separate ourselves out from how our emotions are showing up in the moment. And we know and trust that our emotions are coming and going. They're energy that moves through us. So that's part of emotional maturity, is not getting kind of swarmed into your emotions, not being overwhelmed by your emotions, but being bigger than your emotions, allowing them to be an energy that flows, and you don't get kind of wrapped up in the whole thing. It's like you are able to make space for your emotions. And that also goes with holding that type of space for other people. So when you're more emotionally grounded inside yourself and mature, then you also don't get overwhelmed or taken over by other people's emotions. And not only that, but you feel like you can hold space for their emotions because of that. You can allow them to have their feelings and not take it too personally, and not also be identify too much with that. And part of that in your dynamics with other people are that you can receive feedback from other people without, one, taking that too personally, and two, without getting defensive or argumentative. So that I would also consider that these are all signs of emotional maturity. Let's keep going. Being able to communicate about your emotions. So remember earlier I was saying, if you can identify your emotions, that's a sign of maturity. And also then if you can talk about that, this is what I'm feeling, this is how I know what I'm feeling, this is why I think I might be feeling it. So again, being able to kind of separate yourself from your emotions. So put a hello in the chat or the comment section if you are identifying with this or realizing you have a lot to learn around your emotions. You can say, I have a lot to learn. Let's keep going. Anger is a big one, right? That a lot of us are really scared of. And so part of emotional maturity is being able to hold space for your anger. And again, not being sort of overtaken by it, and also knowing how to have your anger without hurting other people with your anger. So that's a big one, because a lot of us kind of get hooked by the anger and also tie it up with aggression when it's not the same thing. So knowing how to be angry or feel anger without needing to act it out on other people or on yourself. That's a big one. So put that in your notes if you're taking notes, knowing how to feel your anger without needing to act it out. Yes, that's a big one. Taking full responsibility for your emotions. So that means you are not blaming other people for your emotions, because the truth is nobody can make us feel anything. They can sure, incite certain feelings, but nobody can make our feelings happen to us. They happen from the inside out. Trusting your emotions is another one. Trusting they're here for a reason. So not, not fighting with your emotions, but getting that they have a message for you, and then being curious about what that might be. Let's see, let's keep going. The last one I would say, I could probably keep going, but just to keep it short, would be when you have this emotional maturity, you're able to hold space for your own emotions and for others. You're also then able to develop a curiosity about your emotions and about other people's as well. So again, that points to that ability to separate yourself from your emotions, like I was speaking to earlier. Okay, let's continue. So let me know if you have any questions, and I can come back to that. So let's talk about what are some of the sources of having emotional maturity online already. So why might you already feel like you've got your emotionally mature or emotionally intelligent, and then we'll look at what you can do if you want to develop more of that. So I would say one key source for emotional maturity is having secure attachment when you were a little one, an infant, bonding with a caregiver, and in your early years. So secure attachment gives you a feeling of security and safety, and a feeling of trust that you're being cared for, and also builds up a sense of strength inside your being, that you can handle life because you've got people have your back, and because that you're a good person, that there's nothing inherently wrong with you. So those things all support you being emotionally mature. And as an adult, having done your inner work. So even if you didn't come up in a secure environment and have secure attachment originally, you can grow that by doing your inner work as an adult, working with a coach or a therapist, and working inside of healthy relationships. You can develop secure attachment, and therefore you can also develop emotional maturity through those kinds of healthy relationships. So that's why it's never too late to do your inner work and heal your attachment wounds and your trauma wounds and develop healthy relationships. So having been in successful relationships and friendships, I just kind of pointed to that, but when you've done that, when you've had healthy relationships, you can learn through the relationship to understand your emotions, to make space for your emotions, like we were talking about, to hold space for other people's emotions. So your healthy relationships, developing relationships with people who are emotionally mature, who've also done their inner work, or with people who want to learn to do that together. Maybe you're both deciding to go on that journey together, and you really can do that together, especially if you have a mentor, a coach, someone to guide you along in learning about yourselves. Having good modeling. So when it's not only an early attachment that helps us with this emotional maturity, but also observing your other adults in your life, your caregivers, your parents, others around you, and how they manage their emotions. As you probably know, little children are like sponges, and they totally learn so much from the adults around them and how they govern themselves. So when you've had that kind of modeling, you're more likely to follow in those footsteps. And the less childhood trauma you have, the more emotional maturity you are likely to have. So when we've had more early childhood trauma, whether there was a big event, a death in the family, an early hospitalization, some kind of birth trauma, or maybe there was abuse or neglect, any kind of ongoing, more chronic types of trauma, any of those things would cause us to have a lot of inner turmoil and dysregulation inside our nervous system. And it would be harder to regulate your emotions and also have emotional maturity, because there would be a lot of reasons to have upset and unexpressed anger and fear and sadness. So the more trauma you've had, the less likely you are to have kind of worked through your unexpressed and unprocessed emotions. So we'll look at steps you can take in a moment around that. And then having a regulated nervous system is another, sort of marker that someone's more likely to have emotional maturity. It's not the only thing, and none of these are the only thing that need to be in place, but it's sort of like those two go hand in hand in my book. When you have a regulated nervous system, it means you're more resilient with the ups and downs of life, the difficult moments or the shocking events that happen, even car accidents, or like I said, hospitalizations or surgeries or deaths in the family, or to loved ones, or getting fired from a job, or whatever happens. We're just more resilient. We're more able to overcome that and get back to our baseline when we have a more regulated nervous system. And so that more regulated nervous system also goes along with having processed your early childhood trauma or having less childhood trauma. You're more likely to have a regulated nervous system. And again, you can develop that later in life also, and that's what I help my clients with. But the more regulated you are, the more emotionally balanced you're likely to be. So let me know if this is making sense, and you can leave a comment below, put #replay if you're listening later. So let's continue to steps you can take in order to develop emotional maturity for yourself. And probably you're having some ideas already based on what I've shared. And so my top tip is going to be get support. So especially if you've had early childhood trauma events, maybe that have even happened later in life that you don't feel like you ever really overcame, that you feel like left you dysregulated, unable to function very well, then it's really time to get some professional support, because you don't want, that's not healthy, right? That's a sign that there's something like not working well in your system. We want to have resilience. We want to be able to manage and handle difficult circumstances. And if we can't, it's likely that we've accumulated so many traumatic experiences that we can no longer, manage life anymore. So I want to say that there's always hope. Like, you can learn to grow your capacity to handle difficult situations and to overcome those that have already occurred. So I encourage you to work with someone like myself or someone else you trust who's trained to work with developmental and complex trauma, who's got nervous system skills they can teach you and support you with, and who can help you with especially regulating and processing your emotions, especially those you may not even know are lurking under the surface. So that's really important work. And I have to say that in the work that I do with people, what I find is that when we work through the emotions, and we don't always know what they're going to be until we're there, exploring what's going on, that regulation comes online because of that. And that's what I love about the work that I do. I don't have to teach you skills in my office necessarily to help you get regulated. When we do the emotional work, the regulation comes along because your system adjusts and you feel like more present, more aware, more okay, more confident, more strong and stable inside your being. And that is just so cool. And that being said, when I work with groups, because I can't do that kind of deep work with everyone at once, then I will teach more of those regulation skills for the nervous system, because I think it doesn't hurt to have those as well. But ultimately, we want to do that deeper work, that one-on-one work with somebody who can really help us get to the source and kind of clear those knots, like untangle the knots that are inside of us. So we just feel more relaxed and at ease inside ourselves, and we can handle life better. So that's my number one tip in order to grow your emotional maturity. And number two is learn to appreciate your emotions as messengers that are here for a reason, that need to be listened to. I see your emotions as messengers, as bringing information to you from inside yourself. And so when you shut it down, when you decide I shouldn't feel that, it's not okay to think about that, it's not okay to let that emotion be known, or that's too scary, then you're not listening to the messages inside, and you're basically shutting off part of your life force energy. So when you can make space for your emotions, allow them to flow, be curious about them, like I was saying earlier, you're going to get to a better place more quickly. Okay, let's move on to my number three, which is become aware of how your emotions show up inside your body. So like I was mentioning earlier, that's an important piece. That's a sign of emotional maturity. When you're feeling what's going on inside, and you're recognizing, oh, that I think I'm angry right now. Oh, I must be sad right now. And we have different signs and signals inside that when we start paying attention to them, we get to know ourselves more, and then we can make better choices that are informed choices based on what's happening inside ourselves. So that's another key piece that I would love for everybody to have online. Just going to bring these notes up, it's easier to see. Choose people to spend time with, especially more intimate time with, that you feel safe with. That's key. So that you feel safe allowing your emotions to be seen and heard. That's so important. And people who you feel like can respect and honor and create space for your emotions. So, right, it has to go both ways. It's not just you doing that work for yourself, but also being able to do that with other people. So you don't have to be isolated in your expression and exploration of your emotions. It's actually really healthy and healing to explore them with other people. So that's the ultimate, is when you, like I was saying earlier, can develop healthy relationships where there's a space for you to open up and share and be seen and heard and understood. Everybody needs and wants that. It's not something that, that is to be judged, or that is to be considered weak or, immature. It's just a normal human need, is to be seen and heard and held and understood and supported. And so I really want that for everybody. We all deserve that. And so as you do your inner work and feel more worthy and deserving of that, then you can allow yourself to receive that and be held in these vulnerable places that are where you're sharing your emotions, your your tenderness, your fear, your sadness, your anger, and the people you're with aren't scared by them. They're not judging you for them. And in fact, they're really supportive and wanting to understand you and help you move through it and get your needs met and things like that. Doesn't that sound good? So put on I want that in the comments if you would like some of that. And lastly, my last tip for now is to practice self-compassion for your suffering, your struggles, your pain. So when we can do that, we do a lot of inner healing for ourselves. We soften everything. Our relationship with ourselves improves, and we can feel more relaxed and at ease inside ourselves. So that's the nuts and bolts of what I wanted to share. I'm wondering if there's any comments coming in or questions. I know people are traveling right now, but do let me know if you have anything to add to this, if you have a question you'd like to share, or a concern or anything like that. And I'm happy to engage with you about that. So thanks so much for being here. And I'm going to put my website here. It's Robin. You can go to robinsmith.net. I'm putting it in the chat. And that will bring you to my website, and you're going to see there's a place to sign up for my guide, my free guide to the how to avoid the biggest relationship mistakes. And it's a really awesome, just really short, simple tips that you can have and read quickly. And so if you get that guide, you'll get also other updates about these free trainings that I'm going to be doing. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And thanks so much for being here, everybody. I hope this has been helpful. Please let me know if it has. And I will look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.